In today's lecture, we will study the optical communication system. So, introduction to optical communication system mean that we will study first time the general communication system. That what we will do in general communication system, and then it will be small modified toward the optical communication system. And by communication system, we mean that when you share information from one place to another, from one computer to another computer, from one device to another device, from transmitter to receiver, this is called communication. And the system used for communicating the information is called communication system. The general block diagram of communication system is given in figure number 1. This is the given figure, the block diagram. In this block diagram, you see that there are three major blocks. The general communication system consists of three major blocks. There are minor blocks in transmitter and receiver, so we will study these minor blocks also. But the main three major blocks in the communication system are transmitter, information channel or medium, and the receiver. That the transmitter will generate the message and it will be transmitted toward the receiver, and it will be passed from the information channel, and the receiver will receive the signal in it and will process and will give us the output. So the general communication system consists of three major blocks. The block number 1, transmitter, and the block number 2, information channel, and the block number 3 is receiver. So what is the function of transmitter? So there are two main functions of transmitter. It generates the message. When you want to transmit the information from transmitter to a receiver, so this transmitter will generate the message. This message will contain some information which you want to share with some other one. So the first function of the transmitter is to generate the message. For example, I'm writing some message. Either I want to send audio signal or video signal. So how we will generate this message that it is capable to communicate. So this function is the function of transmitter. The main second function is that put this message into suitable form for transfer over the information channel. The message generated by the transmitter can be passed from the information channel. So the form in which you want to send the message will be in such form that it can easily pass through information channel. So the message will be generated by the transmitter, and then it will be converted into such format that it can pass through the information channel. This function, these two is the main function of a transmitter. And then there will be another block, which block is information channel. So what is the function of information channel? So it is the path between the transmitter and receiver and is known as information channel by I/semi information channel. So this is the definition of information channel, that the path between the transmitter and receiver is known as information channel, and the message signal will travel along this path from transmitter to receiver. When the transmitter wants to transmit the message, this message will be pass from this medium, and this medium will provide the link between transmitter and receiver, that message can pass easily from this path. And when the message is passed from the medium, so its energy level will be down and its shape can be distorted. So there are two terms, one is called attenuation and one is called distortion. So when the energy level of the message signal can fall, so we say that the attenuation has been take place in the message signal. And when its shape has been distorted, so this is called distortion of the message signal. So when you ask from you that what is the difference between the attenuation and distortion, so by the attenuation we mean the fall down in the energy level, the loss in energy level of the signal is called attenuation, and the distortion mean that changes in the shape of the signal. What is what does this mean? That for example, this is the signal. So when we transmit this signal, uh, and it will cover this distance. So after discovering this distance, maybe its shape become, and this is the energy level, and now this is the energy level. So you see that the energy has been lost in this signal, and also its shape has been changed. So the change in energy is called attenuation, and in the change in the shape is called distortion. So there are three types of communications. One is called wireless communication, one is optical communication, and sometimes we also introduce digital communication system. So for digital communication system, it is very good from wireless communication system because we can repeat the signal by repeaters. And also we can use the repeater in optical communication system we will study. So simple we mean that the path between the transmitter and the receiver is known as information channel, and the message signal will travel along this path from transmitter to receiver. So there are two categories of information channel. We can divide the information channel into two categories. These two categories are, one is guided medium and the other is unguided medium. The guided medium either two wires. So this is two wire line, one wire and another wire. And we have studied this in uh, data communication computer network and communication network. That here the the noise effect will be greater as compared to this when we twist this cable over. So this is called two wire line, and when we twist one wire toward an over another, this is called twisted pair cable. And this is the coaxial cable. And you know that what is the coaxial cable? You may be study in your EMF that there is two wires, one is inside and one is outside. These two wire, one is inside and one is outer side. This is called coaxial cable. And the other medium which we will use here is optical fiber. Here we will study that what is the optical fiber and from which type of material it is formed and how the signal will be traveled. As this is the optical communication, by optical mean the communication through light. So we will use the optical fiber. This is the guided medium for the transmission of the signal from transmitter toward receiver. But in this course, we will use the optical fiber. And another is unguided medium. And there is only one guided unguided medium, which is atmosphere or air. Atmosphere is the only unguided medium. And uh, this portion of the communication we will study in your another subject whose name is wireless communication. So in wireless communication, we will use the atmosphere is only the unguided medium which will travel, the signal will travel in this medium. So the signal propagates from transmitter to receiver in this medium. The example of the communication system using this medium are TV broadcast. The TV broadcast is the example of wireless communication, and radio broadcast, a cellular mobile phone. Cellular mobile phone, we mean that our mobile phone and we live in a cell as we are connected toward a BTS base station. So this is called cellular mobile phone. And you will study this in your wireless communication course, that what is cell and how the cellular network works, and there are some models in which is responsible to communicate between the mobile station and the base station and cellular networks. Whatever the information channel, the energy of the signal will be reduced, and when it passing through the information channel, and this is called attenuation. This is called attenuation. And this is called attenuation. Whenever whenever the signal, signal passing from the information channel, the energy of the signal will be reduced, and this is called uh, attenuation of the signal. So whenever the signal pass from the medium, the attenuation of the signal will be take place. This is the term, remember, to you, that whenever the signal passing from any medium, either this is guided or unguided, so the attenuation of the signal will be take place. But in the case of optical fiber, this attenuation is very low. So we say that the optical fiber is the best transmission medium between the transmitter and the uh, receiver. And in the world, up to now, the light is the most fastest, and no another medium is faster than the light. So we use this the light for the transmitting our signal. So this is the optical communication system. This is the advantage of optical communication system. The third block in our uh, main block of the communication system is receiver. The transmitter will transmit the signal, and this signal will be passed from the information channel, and this information channel will be either guided or unguided. Now the receiver will receive the message signal, and it will process the signal and will give us output. So what is the function of receiver? So the function of receiver is that it receives the signal from information channel and extract the proper information such that sound, image, video, and data from it. Because what is signal? The signal will contain either sound, audio, either video, either images, or either another data which the transmitter want to transmit. So the receiver will receive the signal from information channel and then it will extract such information from the uh, your signal. So this is the main three blocks of communication system. Now we want to study the minor blocks of communication, general communication system. That from how many blocks the transmitter has been formed. In the lab, we will design the transmitter. That how we will design the transmitter and from which are the components which are required for the optical transmitter. The minor blocks of communication system. So there are four minor blocks of a transmitter and there are five minor blocks of the receiver. And this is the information channel which is medium and we have discussed earlier. The four blocks of the transmitter are message origin. The message origin will generate the message. Then there will be another block of modulator. The message generated is not capable to move for higher, for very large distance. So the modulator will do modulation techniques. And you have studied some modulation techniques and communication system in techniques that there are FM, AM, and AM, PM, and some pulse width modulation, digital modulation, and analog modulation. So you have been studied this in your communication system in techniques. That what is AM, what is FM, what is PM, and what is the digital modulation PSK, ASK, FSK. So these type of modulation will be take place here in modulation. So for when we what is modulation we will short study here also, but for modulation we need a high frequency. So the high frequency will be generated by carrier source. This block will generate the high frequency signal and this message signal will be uh, placed over this carrier source and then it will be sent toward the information channel. And by modulation will be that, for example, if I want to go toward Navshehra from Temargara, so I am not able to go Navshehra without any bus or car, etc. So what is the car? Car is a source whose frequency, whose speed is very high as compared to my speed. So I will be sit in the car. So it means that we can go easily toward Navshera. When I reach toward Navshera, so there is no need of car. So I will leave the car and I will come toward a university. So it means that this function will be the function of modulator. That it will take that will uh, put the message on the fastest carrier, and this fastest carrier will be moved fastly. And when the receiver receive this, it will remove this carrier. This is called demodulation. And after this, there will be a coupler. What is mean by coupler? Coupler we mean that this is another, this is transmission and this is information channel. So either this is wireless medium, either guided medium. In the case of guided, it can be twisted pair cable, coaxial cable, optical fiber. In the case of optical fiber, we will convert our message signal to light. So the coupler will do this process that it will convert to the light. In the case of wireless, it will be electromagnetic waves. So there will be a transmitting antenna, and this antenna will transmit this message, and then they will move toward the receiver. Receiver will have coupler. This coupler will receive the signal from the information channel. So this is in the case of wireless, this will be antenna. In the case of optical fiber, there will be another device, and then there will be detector which will be detect the signal, and we will amplify the signal. There will be signal processor. By signal processor, we mean that it will remove the carrier frequency, and then there will be output block. In the case of output, it will give the output that either this is audio, video, video. So this is the minor blocks inside the transmitter. Now we will study these minor blocks in detail. That what is transmitter, we know. And there are two functions of transmitter: to generate the message signal and put the message signal in the form which is capable from the for the information channel. So how they will generate the message and how they will put in the form that which can pass easily from the media. So for this they use four blocks: message block, modulator, carrier source, and coupler. So what is the message origin? The message origin is a transducer. What is mean by transducer? What is mean by transducer?
To convert one form of energy into another form of energy.
Yes, the transducer is a device which converts one form of energy toward another form of energy. This is the function of transducer. And it can convert, in the case of message signal, it will convert the non-electrical energy to electrical energy. It will convert the non-electrical signal to what the electrical signal. So the message origin is a transducer which convert non-electrical signal into electrical signal. This is a transducer, and this is non-electrical. Its input will be non-electrical and its output will be electrical. For example, in the case of audio signal, if I want to transmit audio signal, for example, now I am transmitting audio signal. So for the audio signal, which type of transducer we use? So the microphone is a transducer which will convert our sound signal to electrical signal. Sound signal to what? Electrical signal. When I want to transmit video, so in the case of video signal, we will use the video camera. It will convert the image to electrical signal. Now I am transmitting audio and video. So I am use both transducer, microphone and video camera. So my microphone transmit sound signal to electrical, and my video camera transmit my image to electrical signal. So in the first block is transducer, it will convert non-electrical energy toward electrical energy. Now the another block which is modulator. So the message is generated. Now we will convert this message into the form that can pass easily through media. So for which we will use the modulator. So there are two main functions of the modulator. It will convert the signal into proper format. What is mean by proper format? For example, if this is the wireless, so it will convert, if the medium is wireless, so it will convert the signal into that form that it can pass easily from the wireless medium. And if this is the digital medium, so it will convert into digital signal. The second function that it impresses the signal into the wave generated by the carrier source. The carrier source will generate the message, which is high frequency signal, and the modulator will impress the signal into the wave generated by the carrier. It will behave like that when I move from Himarkara to Navshera, so I will be sit in the car. So the modulator will set our signal in the higher frequency signal. So this is the main function of the modulator. And how it will impress the signal into the wave. So there are some types of modulator which are used in communication, which is AM. By AM we mean amplitude modulation. And what is amplitude modulation? When the amplitude of the message signal varies, when the amplitude of the carrier signal varies with respect to message signal is called amplitude modulation. And when the frequency of the carrier signal is changed with respect to the frequency of the message signal, this is called frequency modulation. And another is called phase modulation. And there is a fourth one, this is called intensity modulation. And as we study the course of optical communication system, so we will use the intensity modulation. And what is meant by the intensity modulation? In intensity modulation, the intensity of the light will be changed with respect to message signal. The intensity, what is intensity? The energy transmitted by the light to unit area. This is called intensity. Energy per unit area. This is called intensity. And need the power transmitted by the energy by the light per unit area. Its unit is watt per meter square. Its unit is watt per meter square. We will study this in our course, that what is the intensity modulation. So this is the major function of the modulator, that convert the signal into proper format and impress the signal into the wave generated by the carrier signal. And how it will impress? So they will use the modulation techniques. And these modulation techniques are AM, FM, PM, and intensity modulation, ASK, FSK, PSK, QAM, pulse width modulation, etc. So we will use these modulation techniques. But here, in the case of wireless, we will use AM, FM. In the case of mm, um, optical, we will use intensity modulation. So there is a third block in the communication system, which is the carrier source. The carrier source, it generates very high carrier frequency, and this frequency signal will move our message signal for large area, for large distance. So it will generate a very high carrier, mean radio frequency. Sorry, this is radio frequency. In the case of wireless communication, if we study the wireless communication, so what will be the carrier? It will be from 3 kilohertz to 300 gigahertz. So we will generate a carrier frequency in this range, either 3 kilohertz, either 300 gigahertz, either between them. So the carrier signal will generate this frequency. And how they will generate this frequency? For this, we have studied the oscillators. That what is oscillator? We have studied this in your electronics course that oscillator is the device which produce frequencies per you. And there are crystal oscillator, and there are some electronic analog electronic oscillator, which is Hartley oscillator, or साथ इसके अलावा कितने थे आपके साथ ये oscillator?
सर ये हमारा सब्जेक्ट था एम्पलीफायर एंड ऑसिलेटर था.
Colpet oscillator, Hartley oscillator, crystal oscillator. So these oscillators are used to generate the carrier frequency. In the case of optical fiber communication, the carrier frequency will be from 1.5 to 1.5 10 to the raise 4 hertz to 15 multiplied by 10 to the raise 14 hertz. So this is very high frequency as compared to this. And for this we will use optical oscillators. We will study the optical oscillator that how they generate this the light signal for us. Okay? In the case of fiber optical communication, the range is from 1.5 10 to the raise multiplied by 10 to the raise 4 hertz to what 15. So this is very high carrier frequency. It means that the signal will be travel very fastly in optical fiber as compared to wireless. The attenuation in the signal in the case of wireless will be very large, and the attenuation in the optical communication is approximately negligible as compared to wireless. It is generally oscillator in the case of electronic communication system. These are the Hartley culprit. In the case of optical fiber, we will use LED and LD mean light diode, laser diode, light emitting diode and laser diode. And how these will work, we will study this in our course there, how the LED and laser diode will work. Simple that when the electrical signal is applied toward LED or laser diode, it will generate the high light signal. But this high light signal will be in the form of code, which is called light code. For example, this is the LED. It will generate the light in such form, and this is called the light code. So the electrical signal, and this is the light signal. This is the electrical domain, and this is the light domain. So it will convert the electrical signal into light signal. This is the function of what carrier source that it will generate a very high intensity light in the case of optical fiber communication, and it will generate a high frequency radio signal in the case of wireless communication system. In the case of wireless communication system. So what is the function of the fourth and the last block of the transmitter, that which is the coupler? So the coupler means it feeds the signal to information channel. As you know that the message is generated and the message is modulated through the frequency of the carrier. Now the coupler will feed the signal to information channel. It will give the signal to information channel. So how it will give the signal to medium? For this we will use coupler. So it feeds the signal to information channel. In the case of wireless communication channel, if you consider the wireless communication channel, so it will be transmitting antenna. It will be transmitting antenna. So therefore, you will study the another subject whose name is antenna, applied antenna and propagation. That you want to transmit the signal either through lights, either through wireless. In the case of wireless, we will use a transmitting antenna. What is antenna? How we will design antenna? How the antenna works? So you will study this in your third course, whose name is applied antenna and propagation and wave propagation. Antenna is a metal which transmit the radio waves. The transmitting antenna which radiate the energy into the wireless information channel. And generally, we denote this that this is the transmitter and this is the antenna, and they radiate the energy. But
Excuse me,
what is
sir.
the,
सर ये वायरलेस कम्युनिकेशन में हमारे पास जो कपलर है ये एंटीना होगा.
this will be antenna. In the case of transmitter, this will be transmitting antenna. In the case of receiver, there will be receiving antenna. But we will study in our lab of antenna that when we design antenna, so we will design only transmitting antenna, as it will follow a theorem whose name is reciprocity theorem. And you may know that what is the reciprocity theorem? Sir, what is the reciprocity theorem?
आई डोंट नो सर.
By the reciprocity theorem, we say that if there is a electrical source in a circuit, this is a good simple circuit. So this electrical source will generate a current here, current I. But when we place the this electrical source here, where it will generate the current I. It means that it will generate the same current here. It will mean, what does this mean? When we place the electrical source in this side, so it will generate the current I in this. So when we place this uh, electrical source here, it will generate the same current here. So this theorem is called reciprocity theorem. It means that what is transmitting antenna? So when we apply the electrical signal to a transmitter antenna, it will generate the wireless signal. But when we apply this wireless, when this wireless energy fall on the receiver antenna, it will generate the same electric current. When we apply the electric current, the transmitting antenna will generate the EM waves, electromagnetic waves. When the electromagnetic waves will fall on the medium, it will generate the same current. So this theorem is called reciprocity theorem, and it means that when we design the transmitting antennas, it will we can use this as receiving antenna. Must be poetry.
यस सर.
So this is the antenna, and in the case of uh, optical fiber. So why where we use the coupler. So as you know that the modulator in our case is LED or laser diode, so they will generate the source radiation core. This is called source radiation core or light core. And this is the optical fiber whose diameter is 12.5 micrometer. So they can't be passed from this optical fiber. And the maximum of energy will be uh, last is some portion will be passed from this, but this portion energy in this portion energy will be there. So we will reduce this size of the cone from, yes, this is the cone, source radiation cone. We will pass from the some system that it will convert this cone toward this smaller cone. And this smaller cone can be easily passed from the optical fiber. So this is the coupler. And how we will reduce the cone? So we will study this in our coming lectures, that what is the techniques for the reducing the size of the cone. And this is the very important topic in optical fiber communication, that what is the techniques to reduce the cone of the source radiation, cone radiated by LED or laser diode. It means that the coupler is necessary either in the case of wireless, either in the case of optical fiber. So this is the uh, minor four blocks of transmitter. In the case of in transmitter, there are four minor blocks: message origin, modulator, carrier, and coupler. The message will be generate the message, and it will be transducer. It will convert the audio signal into electrical. Radio signal mean image into electrical, either non-electrical to electrical. The modulator will have two functions: convert into proper format that pass from the medium and impress the signal in the carrier source generated signal. And this carrier source will be either optical diodes, or they are oscillators in the case of electronic, and they will generate the frequency. And there will be a coupler. It will feed the signal from transmitter to information channel. This is the function of the coupler. Now let's study the medium. So we have already studied the medium, but here we will study some about the optical fiber. The medium information channel, it is already discussed, and it is the guided medium in the case of fiber optics communication, which is optical fiber. In our case, we will use the guided medium. So what is optical fiber? So there are fibers. Fiber पे जने ratio होता है. There are fibers, and they are made from either glass, and which type of glass? Silicon dioxide, or transparent plastic. It will be either silicon dioxide glass or transparent plastic, and its diameter will be 12.5 micro meter. The light signal will travel from the core of the optical fiber. There are two parts. This is the core of the fiber, and this is the cladding. This is called cladding. This is the supporting material. We have show only one fiber, but there are many fiber here. And this is the cladding. There is the cladding. Cladding is used for the supporting, and that they can't be damaged. And they are either glasses or plastic, but it can be easily bent. Beda چې دا optical fiber د سي تاو را تاو کې کنه نه دا شي بار بار په دې سایت کې ته لایټ وکي کنه په موبایل د پلی شو ته ونیسي نو بیا هم دې سایډ ته لایټ په اسانه وځي. صحیح ده؟ داسې نه چې دا به سټریټ پراته وي، داسې مسله نه کوي. And how they will the light signal will be passed from the optical fiber. They will use the phenomena which is called totally internal reflection. We will study, and you may be studied in your physics either in class 10. So that what is the uh, total internal reflection. So the light signal will be passed from the core of the fiber, and this is the cladding of a fiber. The cladding به ورته موږ څنګه کوو او د cladding دپاره به څه خبرو خیال ساتو، دا به زموږ په کمینګ لیکچرو کې به راځي په دې سیمسټر. When the light signal passing from the fiber, the attenuation of the signal will be take place, but this attenuation is very low, so you can neglect it, but here we will not neglect it, as we will use the higher optical fiber communication, which will transfer the signal from one country to another country. So it means that we will reduce this attenuation. So for attenuation, we will use the repeaters. And what is the function of repeater? Share करो. So what is the repeater? Repeater, it is used for the regenerating the message signal, and we use the repeater in the case of optical fiber, in the case of digital, and we can't use an analog communication. For example, in the case of digital, you can easily understand. For example, this is our signal which we want to transmit. So after covering some distance, its shape will become the distortion in the signal will be take place. So but when it cover more distance, maybe the data will be lost. This one becomes 0 and this is also becomes 0, so it means that no data. But we pass this from the repeaters, and these repeaters will repeat our signal. It means that it will regenerate the message. It means that it has also covered this distance, but now it has been refreshed as it is transmitted. So it means that it can be travel long distance, and it will can't travel large distance when we not use the repeater. In the absence of repeater, we are unable to transmit the signal for long distance.
سر جی
ها
دا optical fiber چې دا خو په سمندر کې لکه وو کې لاندې را تیر شوی دی، نو دې ته بیا په سمندر کې دننه د ریپیټر یې ورته لګولي.
هلته ورته موږ ریپیټرز وګوري. دا ریپیټرز به موږ په دغه کې هم لګو، ښه په لیب کې به ورته ریپیټرز ولګو.
جی سر.
So what is the coupler? Now we are entered toward the receiver, as the transmitter generate the message and modulate and couple to the information channel. An information channel has sent the message toward the receiver. Now the receiver will receive the message. So how they will receive? They will use the coupler. So the coupler is a receiving antenna in the case of wireless communication. In the case of optical fiber, there will be photodiode, and they will receive the a light signal. So it receives the signal from the information channel. In the case of wireless communication, it is the receiving antenna. It is the receiving antenna. In the case of optical fiber, it will be photodiode. And this photodiode, in the case of optical fiber, will do the function of both coupler and detector. Coupler and detector. But in the case of wireless, we will use the receiving antenna for coupling, and we will use the detector. And there will be many detectors, uh, and you can study the chapter number 4 of Bibilati book. Here there are many detectors. So what is the detector? It is the second block of the receiver, and it will block the radio frequencies of the signal. What is the radio frequency of the signal? The frequency generated by the carrier of a transmitter. Is the function of this carrier frequency is to uh, travel the long distance through the message signal. But now the دلته چې دی نو بیا موږ ته د دې ضرورت نشته ادھر हमारे साथ रेडियो फ्रिक्वेंसी का कोई भी ज़रूरत नहीं है क्योंकि फंक्शन इसका ये था ताकि वो ट्रांसमीटर से रिसीवर तक हमारे साथ आ जाए अभी उसने रिसीवर तक सिग्नल को क्या किया पहुंचा दिए now it's the function there is no any function of this radio frequency so we will block this frequency and it will behave like our car that when we sit in our car and go to somewhere so we will leave the car when we reach so now we will leave the car so it will block the radio frequency of the signal. In the case of fiber optics communication, the photo detector is photodiode. The light signal will be fall on photodetector and it will generate the electrical signal. And its photo detector is behave like mm, the PN junction diode used in the PV system. په PV system کې هم په لایټ راځي نو electrical signal به درکاو کنه خو هلته به دې مونږ
Yes, sir.
بجلی جوړوله جنریشن دپاره به م یوز کولو او دلته پې مونږه ایز د خپل مقصد دپاره استعمالو چې لایټ سیګنل ته electrical ته کنورټ کړي now the coupler received the signal and detector detect the signal so in this signal there will be noise and the message signal so we will pass the it from the amplifier so it amplifies the signal along including the noise the noise سره به دا amplify کی amplifier کوم ویلې کنه
Yes, sir.
and amplifier the in the case of in coming in second lecture we will study that what is the amplification gain for amplifier there will be a gain and for the system we will use the uh, efficiency detailed already shared via email kindly add course outline video lecture link assignment and lecture and course book LMS so it will amplify the both noise and the signal which we want to transmit then there will be a last two step which is the signal processor it will filter the signal by filter we mean that it will remove the noise and it block the noise and when they block the noise it means that it will improve the SNR ratio what is mean by SNR ratio signal to noise ratio signal to noise ratio the SNR means signal power to noise power when the signal power is larger than noise it means greater SNR And when the power of the noise is smaller as compared to the signal power, it means it will be large SNR. And we will check the bit error rate. BR mean bit error rate, that if there is a digital signal, and this digital signal we want to transmit over optical fiber, so we will convert this into light signal. But in the receiver we check the bit error rate, that how many bits are transmitted and how many bit we received, and is there is any error in the bit or not. So this is called bit error rate, BR. And in the lab class we will find the BR for our system, that what is the BR of the system, what is the BR of the system, BR, bit error rate. دا مې یاد ساته چې بیا نه ګورې تپوس کوم چې ته یاد چې bit error rate BER. ٹھیک ده.
Yes, sir.
The last block of the general communication system is the message output. Is the coupler receive the signal, detector block the radio frequency, and amplifier amplify both noise and signal. The noise और signal में दोबारा से amplify को करा कि हमारे साथ अगर हम पहले इसको नॉइज रिमूव करें तो शायद हम इसके साथ सिग्नल भी क्या करें, रिमूव करें, हमारे साथ इंफॉर्मेशन लॉस होने का बहुत खतरा होता है. बट व्हेन वी एम्पलीफाई, so it means that we can easily remove the noise from the signal. So then we pass from signal processor, it will filter the signal and block the noise and improve the SNR and improve the bit error rate. So this is the last for block of the output, the receiver, that the message output. Message output is a transducer. It converts the electrical signal into a non-electrical signal. For example, in the case of audio signal, it will be a loudspeaker. In the case of video signal, it will be a screen, either liquid crystal display or cathode ray tube or light emitting diode. So this is the general communication system block diagram, and here we study that there are three major blocks in the general communication system: transmitter, information, and receiver. The function of transmitter to generate a message and put the message in the form that it easily pass through the medium. And what is the medium? The path between the receiver and transmitter. They can be guided and unguided. By guided mean that two wire coaxial twisted in optical fiber, and unguided is only ear. دا یاد لري ښه چې تاسو چې د unguided example څه دی نو بس atmosphere او ear دی بلې نشته ښه. دا صرف واحد داسې دی چې د دې کې وایرلس یا نور وایرلس میډیم هم څه نشته. receiver کار څه دی چې it will receive the signal from the information channel and extract the proper information such that sound, image, video and data from it. بیا به کې موږ ماینر بلاکس ویل چې میسج اریجن دی، ماډولیټر دی، کیریئر دی، کپلر دی، میډیم دی. میسج اریجن څه ته وایي؟ recording the proceeding.